and welcome to a new episode of Flashback Sequence Engaged, the podcast. I'm your host, Matt, the host with the most. Gas.
Yeah,
I don't know, I'm just kind of whatever today, so
it's
don't
Father's
mind
Day.
me. Yeah.
Happy Father's Day, Matt.
So that voice that you hear, because I had to take a sip of some Coke, that voice that you hear, it's our good friend Jason Hines.
Hello, everyone.
Decided to sit on this episode. So how's it going, Jason?
Not too bad. I had nothing else better to do, so I figured I'd hang out with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're able to fill that void with nothing else better to do. Oh, let's just go ahead and sit in on a podcast.
I was gonna peel my nails off, with pliers, and I thought, all right, I'll go hang out with Matt instead. No, this is awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me out.
We're glad to have you. So yeah, it's gonna be a crazy episode. We got some great news, some sad news, and then we're gonna talk about our main topic is gonna be epic product fails. So 25 of the epic product fails. We might do an episode next week of products that failed, but we'd like to see them come back. So we'll see what happens. So first thing we're gonna do is I want to go ahead and mention this before we start. Have you seen Cobra Kai?
I have not, but I've heard some great things about it. I really need to get it.
Okay, I just killed season 1.
Nice.
And it is awesome.
That's what I hear.
It is super awesome. I was very skeptical because it was coming from YouTube Red.
Right.
And I was really thinking that it was going to be super cheesy and the production value was going to suck. But it far exceeded any expectations that I had. William Zabka is awesome as Johnny Lawrence again. And then Ralph Macchio is great as Danielson. So.
Well, that's good because, I've seen both of them in different parts. Like, William Zabka was on How I Met Your Mother, for a few episodes and everything. And it was like, William Zabka playing William Zabka. And then you had Macchio doing a couple episodes of Psych, which I love that show. But it was interesting seeing them do those parts, and it's just like, are they really, great actors, or is it just that, like that 80s?
No, they really
revival?
sell it. They sell it.
And then when I heard that was coming back, I'm like, well, it'll be nice to see them do, their old roles that made them popular, famous, whatever. So that's good. I'm really looking forward to checking it out.
There's a lot. There's elements of comedy. There's elements of drama. It's a little bit of everything.
Cool. And
it's really well done. So kudos to YouTube on that for not completely destroying my childhood.
Right.
With bringing back something like that. And, they've done it justice. It's already been greenlit for season 2.
Sweet.
So,
how many episodes were in the first season?
10.
Okay. Half-hour episodes?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
so I literally killed it. I literally killed it out in like a day and a half.
Right.
Or part of... I stayed up really late the one night and watched it up until like 2-3 in the morning because I don't sleep. And then I ended up watching the last 3 episodes, the next day or later that day. So it's super good.
Cool.
Super, super good. And then there's a twist at the end.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and segue from this, and we're going to go ahead and get into the news. All right, first article. So this is what we got. Let's see. Let's go ahead and knock this one out. It's not going to be my personal favorite. So, Jason, how familiar are you with Chris Hardwick?
I remember Chris Hardwick back when he was started out on that Singled Out show on MTV.
Yeah, I remember him too.
Yep.
When he was with Jenny McCarthy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I used to love that show just because of how dumb it was, but it was a great show. And but yeah, I remember that. And then he just kept popping up everywhere else, and I'm like, this guy just doesn't want to go away. It's like a little cockroach. He's into everything, and it's great because he's got this smiling personality, and he's a handsome little devil. But yeah, so. Here's the news.
Yeah, so Just came out the other day. It came out June 7th. Well, this article's from June 17th, but it came out yesterday or the day before. So Chris Hardwick had accusations of sexual abuse from an ex-girlfriend that he dated for 3 years. So yeah, that happened. Another one of them.
Right. They're everywhere.
It's become an epidemic.
It has.
And it's sad.
It's the thing where, yeah, I mean, they're high-profile people. I mean, even though, he was no Morgan Freeman or anything, but still, I mean, he's a high-profile guy. And it's frustrating when you see someone have an allegation against them and everything goes away. I mean, it used to be, innocent until proven guilty. Now it's...
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's really any due process.
Exactly. I mean, I understand people want to get caught up in the glitz and glamour. And yes, if he did do something wrong, you don't want to continue whatever. But at the same time, like, the minute there's an allegation, ties are cut, deals are broken, things are put on hiatus. It's really frustrating because literally anybody can just say one thing and that could be the end of a career.
Right. And here's the world we live in right now. These are popping up left and right. I'm not downplaying that they, I'm willing to bet a lot of them are true.
Sure.
Times are different, previously. But, yeah, I think there has to be some degree of due process. I think people should have the ability to defend themselves when allegations arise. So I don't necessarily think it's fair only getting one side of the story.
Absolutely. And I mean,
before really passing judgment.
Right. And like you said, it very well may be that this guy was,
Yeah, he could have full blown did it.
Right. But until we find out, I mean, can't we give the guy a chance, for crying out loud?
Well, and here's the thing. If I'm all for, pulling AMC, pulling any associated with the Nerdist Industries. Now, mind you, he sold off all of his stuff
right
to Legend Entertainment, I believe. So he sold off the Nerdist thing, and he only had loose affiliation with that that company at the time. So, and I feel bad for them because that's not the best PR, because when you associate anything Nerdist, you think Chris Hardwick.
Exactly.
I think essentially what should be done is you should suspend the guy.
Sure.
Until there's some kind of investigation. I think anyone deserves that.
Right.
But I did read the article that she wrote, that Chloe Dykstra.
Mm-hmm.
I read the article, and she doesn't directly say it's Chris Hardwick.
Right.
But there's enough information that basically describes Chris Hardwick.
Right.
When she says his podcast was really starting to pick up some steam.
Mm-hmm.
and he became CEO of said company. You put two and two together at that point because they dated in that period of time, and he's a really well-known podcaster.
Right.
He's still really well-known because he even with not doing Nerdist, and now he does ID10T podcast is pretty well-known too. So yeah, it definitely pointed at Chris Hardwick. It's unfortunate, but that goes back to the thing is, if you did it, you made your own bed. You really did.
And here's the other thing, and hey, this might open up a horrible discussion, whatever, but okay.
I'm whatever you want to talk about.
Sure. Well, I'm new. I don't want to step on any toes.
No, you're not stepping on toes.
Cool. So here's my thing. Let's say that he did do it. All right. What? The only reason that she would have to come out and say anything like that would be with the intention of destroying him. Maybe I'm wrong on that, But I mean, if that was how he was, break up with him, move on, get on with it. I mean, if somebody asks you, if anybody, wants to, whatever, but why? It's almost like, and maybe this might be a bad case, but I mean, there's so many that, before this, like, Kevin Spacey and all these, that were going on.
I mean, you got Kevin Spacey, you got Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman, right.
I mean, the list goes on and
exactly.
on and on and on.
Yeah.
Harvey Weinstein.
And
the king of all creepos,
right.
Harvey Weinstein.
And I mean, again, if that's what their intention is, then kudos, it worked. But I don't know if, that they're doing it for attention for themselves and they don't care if it's, ruining the other person's career. Because to be honest, before this, I've never heard about this Dykstra chick before. And yet, she's tied to this Chris Hardwick guy. And so I don't know if she was doing that to further her career and she doesn't give a crap about him anymore. Or if, it really was that bad that she just wanted to let people know that not to let this SOB work anymore.
Well, she definitely did make that happen.
Right.
He's definitely not working right now.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of time on his hands. But when reading the article, when they broke up, her response was that he took it upon himself to make her career non-existent.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
This seems to be a common formula in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
As far as, when bad blood happens, then you're out to destroy the other person's career.
Right.
Just happened to be Chris Hardwick was a little bit more well-known than she was.
Mm.
So yeah, it's a big mess. I don't see any of these stopping.
Right.
It's going to get worse before it gets better. It's like a festering boil right now, and it's just all the stuff's just coming to the head or to the top. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate Chris Hardwick's body of work.
Right.
What he does is in his personal life, that's one thing.
Right.
But if he did, like I said, if he did do it, because we don't know the whole story, so we're not passing judgment here.
Right.
But if he did do it, he deserves it.
Right.
He's
exactly.
He's a complete creep.
But it's one of those things where, like you said, due process. Let's find out first before we start breaking off ends and everything, and then let's just say that he didn't do it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, yay, come back, we're friends again. And it's like,
no, it doesn't work like that. And the thing is, if it comes out that he did not do it, all right, you don't recover a career that way.
No.
Because there's always going to be doubt in people's minds of whether, it was actually the truth, or like the whole settling out of court thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you settle out of court, there's always this stigma,
right,
that there was guilt,
right,
and that you just basically paid for it to go away,
right.
I mean, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it sounds like a duck and it looks like a duck, it's a duck. So that's what happened with Chris Hardwick. So yeah, he's not currently working. But hey, you are welcome to come on Flashback Sequence Engaged, the podcast.
Absolutely.
And you can speak however you want to say, or whatever you want to say. We will welcome you to the podcast with open arms.
That would be awesome. You heard it here first. But go.
We would get a lot of hate.
Yep.
But I think anyone deserves a chance to speak.
Yep. Sweet.
Regardless, of what may or may not have happened. So, moving right along. So we're going to go to not necessarily a lighter note, but then this one's kind of very heartfelt, and I know Jason's going to like this one. So, Chris Cornell, his daughter, and Tony, which I'm not too familiar with the Tony part, duet on Prince's "Nothing Compares to You."
It's beautiful.
It's very, very well done.
Hauntingly beautiful, as some would say.
What we'll do is we'll attach the link in the description.
Cool.
so people can actually get into the YouTube video to listen to it. So, yeah, I'm still pretty sad about the whole Chris Cornell thing.
That hit me a lot harder than I thought it would. I'll be honest. When I heard about it, I was like, "Oh wow, that stinks." And then just as the rest of the day kept going,
sign fell off.
yeah, I'm being attacked over here. That's awesome.
Sorry.
I'm invited to the guy's home, and then he just beats me up with a game sign. No, I'm just teasing. But yeah, I mean, he did a lot for music in the '90s, and not just with Soundgarden or even Audioslave in the later years, but I mean, his solo career was fantastic. He was a good guy overall. I mean, he was one of the front forerunners of trying to end human trafficking, especially with children and children abuse. He was all about that and had a foundation set up for that. So yeah, I mean, his death was tragic and horrible, and we can read all kinds of different conspiracy theories on that if you want. But the song itself that his daughter did with him was just beautiful, and it was nice to have that.
It was done with Tony. I don't know who Tony is.
I'm 98% positive that's his daughter. I could be wrong, but I thought that was her on the singing there.
Okay. So yeah, it's Chris Cornell
Yeah,
and Tony.
yeah.
Okay, that's where I got the confusion when I was reading the
Okay.
title of it. So yeah, it is him and his daughter.
Yeah. And then to release that kind of out on Father's Day was really nice. And
Yeah.
the fact that they gave Prince props on that, which is good because he was the one that wrote it.
Yeah,
Of course.
I miss Prince too.
No kidding. Yeah.
We lost. Here's the thing: we've lost a lot of great artists.
Mm-hmm.
In like early.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
one thing if they were in their 70s or 80s.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, look at Keith Richards. He's like 150.
He's never dying.
I mean, he's like literally has alligator blood. And the guy looks like he's 900 years old and he's still kicking.
Yep. When the atomic bomb goes off, it's going to be cockroaches and Keith Richards. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, that is so great. Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
But yeah, like speaking about, Prince, I mean, he was always quiet, wanted to stay out of the limelight, even though he was one of the best, largest recording, artists of all time.
Had a very private life.
Yeah. But he was so great as far as helping people out, and a lot of people don't know that he didn't want he wanted to give, he wanted to donate, he wanted to do things for different causes, but he didn't want people to know that it was coming from him because he didn't want the attention on him. So a lot of times, like if there was he did a concert in Flint, Michigan, as a matter of fact, when that was a big deal, and he did this concert in Flint, Michigan, just out of nowhere, but all the proceeds that he got went to the city to help them for the issues they were having.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he would constantly do that, and it would be like, oh, Prince is doing a show here. It's like, what? Why in the world? But that was why. He didn't want that limelight. He wanted to make sure that things were taken care of the right way. Mm-hmm. I love that. And his music, just, in my opinion, phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the first album, when he changed his name to a symbol with the new Power Generation, good night. I could listen to that album all day long. But yes, so...
A lot of great hits.
No kidding. But Chris Cornell, touching tribute with his daughter. Definitely worth a listen if you're a fan of any of his body of work. I really think you'll love it.
Yeah. And it's a good Father's Day tribute.
Right? Yeah.
Let's see. And this one, moving right along. So, we're going to talk about some Apple. God, we love Apple.
Half of us do.
Half of us do. I know I love Apple. It's like that warm blanket of not worrying about the government. Just joking.
Please.
Just joking.
Right.
All right. So a new feature in the next iPhone software is going to shock people. Interested on? I'm intrigued.
Right?
It surprised even the Apple CEO, Tim Cook.
Ooh.
What could it be? Let's read on. A new feature, quoting the Insider, an article from Insider, a new feature in the iPhone's operating system shows how much time you spend on your phone. That is scary.
It could be wonderful and scary, yes, because when you realize how much time you're actually on your phone, you're going to be like, good gravy. Do you know what I used to do with those 4.5 hours? Yeah. But hey, I mean, it might wake some people up and be like, "Holy cow! I didn't know I used that much time on my phone. I should stop doing that."
And it's such a simple feature,
right?
It sounds so almost stupid that it's not already in the phone,
Right.
Because I mean, yeah, it's like you said, it's gonna wake some people up. People will be like, "Oh my god, I'm really spending this much time on my phone. I've been watching YouTube for 8 hours.
We all do it.
Where has my day gone?"
Right. We all do it. Don't act like you don't. And now you can track how long you've been watching cat videos and end up watching, sushi recipes, because that's how it works on YouTube. You start on something and it just takes you everywhere. But no, it'll be kind of interesting. I know I don't have Apple, but hopefully something like that will come out so I can get an idea of how much I use. I think it's kind of a neat feature. Whether even it's just waking people up to, what they're actually doing or using, and but also just it's a neat idea to have.
Speaking of YouTube,
Yeah.
I feel like YouTube is like one of those times where you're like, you do LSD.
You just do now.
And you go on this spirit journey.
Yep.
And speaking of my iPhone, I'm already getting a notification. But yeah, you just go off on these weird places, these weird tangents. You like you said, you go from sushi video to cat videos. Like, I remember the one day I ended up going from a car video to drama alert to Jake Paul, like a Jake Paul concert fail or whatever. And it's just like all these random weird things that I don't really care about. So yeah.
Right.
It's like doing awful drugs and going on this weird journey.
So my fiance and I swear this will come right back around to YouTube. It'll be weird, but typically when we get bored or we want some alone time, whatever, we just hop in the car and drive. She's got a hybrid, so it's all right on gas. But anyway, so as we're driving, we'll listen to music, we'll talk. Sometimes we'll get bored listening to music, so she'll pop on YouTube. And there's all these different like music quizzes out there, so it'll give you like 10 seconds of a song and you gotta name the artist and title, and so we'll do that, and it's always kind of fun. But it's fun even doing that, because you'll start with 90s music and then it'll go on to something else, and it'll go into 2000s, it'll go into country, whatever, and then it just helped me kind of rediscover some of my musical loves that I forgot I even had. Yeah. So it can be used for good. Sometimes. To give you kind of a nice YouTube anecdote, this is like at least 5 or 6 months ago, a friend of mine came to our house when we had dinner here, and I think it's when I had rearranged the studio, and I mounted the new TV. Well, it's not a new TV, but it had a new spot. Anyhow. So we mount the TV, and we're I fire up YouTube, and it's just playing music, and so it starts playing all these music videos, and so we're just kind of sitting there, and so we kind of pull a Beavis and Butthead, and so we're watching like these music videos and just completely like trashing them, and it's some like awful music videos. Now some of them are like 80s like music videos, and some were very creepy, and I completely forgot how creepy some of these were. Oh yeah.
Like there was Rockwell. I think it was Rockwell. It was somebody's watching me
with the blood coming out of the shower.
Right. We was watching that, and we're just like completely making fun of this, and I think my buddy Brian was like, is he like a Michael Jackson like knockoff?
So I can answer that for you. That's actually Michael Jackson's nephew.
There we go.
And if you listen to the background, that somebody's watching me, that's actually Michael Jackson singing in the background.
Yeah, so that's what we were making fun of that, and then we watched Taco
putting on the Ritz.
Putting on the Ritz. Yep. So we watched that one. That one was super creepy too. And then we brought on this one that I had never seen before, and he's like, "Dude, this video is terrible." And it was Billy Ray Cyrus, Achy Breaky Heart 2.
Oh.
They made a second one.
No.
It is awful.
It has to be.
It is super, super awful. So let me give you a slight rundown of what happened.
Please.
So Billy Ray Cyrus is walking with this kid, and they're fishing. Anyhow, he has his guitar with him, but only one fishing pole, so apparently he's not fishing.
Okay.
So they're walking down this dirt road, and all of a sudden they get abducted by aliens. Yes.
Okay.
And so there's these scantily clad women
Sure.
on this UFO with a rapper. And Billy Ray Cyrus is playing his guitar. The guy's rapping. These girls are twerking in the background. So this kid turns from a kid to the rapper.
Okay.
No explanation.
No. Well, you don't need it.
Super weird.
I mean, there's aliens that are hot women, apparently.
And it was enough for them to do an achy breaky heart too. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
It was a terrible video.
No, absolutely.
And then we watched another video where this guy, he would go around, he would like nudge up against women and they would magically become pregnant.
Man, why does that sound familiar? Do you remember what song it was?
No, I don't remember what song it was.
Oh,
but
that
it's
sounds
terrible.
familiar. But yeah, I mean, something like that is
so
going
he
to burn
just
into your...
just magically like comes near these women and they just magically become pregnant.
Nice.
And so like all these women are like chasing him, and then he wakes up from a dream and it's like, and it's one of those situations where you're watching the video and you're just like, is this like a condom commercial that we're just not sure about, or is this a music video?
Oh,
so
man.
I'm like thinking, is this sponsored by Durex? Or
Right?
Is this sponsored by Magnum? You know? But yeah, it was some weird music videos, and they were on YouTube, and it felt great just pulling a Beavis and Butthead and just completely trashing on these.
Yes.
So yeah, that's went on kind of a tangent for a second, but it was good. So yeah, back to Apple. So it comes out this fall with iOS 12. And it's going to surprise millions of people.
Millions.
You know, that's all Apple does is they do PowerPoint. They do presentations with bold letters in millions behind it.
Yes. And then Apple logo.
And then Apple logo.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
Just in case you weren't sure.
Just in case you weren't sure. You know, you didn't know you were at an Apple conference. So yeah, it'll break down different statistics. So it'll show basically like a bar, and it'll show different segments of what you're using most. So games. So in this one, they do an example. So games, it would show an hour and 50 minutes is what you play with games. Entertainment, 45 minutes. Social networking, 25 minutes, and then other 14 minutes. So it breaks it into segments of time. But then it goes to your overall score. So in this case, this person has been on their phone for 3 hours and 14 minutes, which is 22 minutes above what they normally are. So that is the new Creeper app from Apple.
Yeah, so you get to creep on yourself. That's how...
And it's basically phone shaming.
Yeah, that's how meta we've become. We can't shame other people. Now we have to shame ourselves.
We got to
stalk
shame ourselves.
Yeah. So
you know,
that's awesome.
we just take it to a whole nother level.
Thank you, Apple.
Yes.
Thank you for making me feel bad about the way I live my life.
Thank you for having the foresight to make me feel completely awful that I'm wasting my life away.
Right?
Using your product to basically watch YouTube and do social media and all that crap.
Yeah.
So yeah, it comes out this fall with the new iOS 12 update. So super excited. I'm excited for other features that are available in iOS 12. Side note with that, iOS 12 is supposed to really expand performance across all Apple products that are available to get that. So if you have an iPhone 6 Plus, you can take advantage of the performance benefits from it.
Cool.
So you can turn that old phone into a much faster phone, thanks to iOS 12.
It'll be better than the alternative.
Yes.
some of the older phones getting the newer stuff, and they were slowing down on purpose. At least that was what was alleged.
Yeah, it makes you wonder with iOS 12 that they take that feature out, and it's just like, oh, so this is all the performance that we were missing.
Right? Just kidding. Here you go. We still love you.
Oops, my bad. So yeah, in Apple-esque form, they will give you your performance back
Sweet.
that you should have had in the beginning.
Exactly.
Anyways.
So it took that many updates, but hey.
But it's a new feature.
Yes.
So yeah, that happened. So that's all we have for the news.
Sweet.
So we're gonna go ahead and take a quick pause, and we will get into our main topic, which is 25 biggest product fails. So we'll see you shortly. And welcome to Flashback Sequence Engaged, the podcast. We're back.
Woo!
And we're in the third act.
So exciting.
I know.
I can't believe it's almost over.
It is almost over. All right, so back to what we were talking about. We are going to talk about the 25 biggest product fails of all time. So,
There's a little bit of everything on here,
yeah,
too.
it's a mixed bag of, awful. So this article is from Business Insider, and it's relatively recent. It's actually in May, so it's relatively current. So we're only in June. So yeah, 25 of the biggest failed products from the world's biggest companies. And it is a mixed bag of many big companies that made awful, awful products. So let's go ahead and get started with the first one.
Sweet.
So the first one is the 1957 Ford Edsel. Way before my time.
Yes.
And apparently I don't want to own an Edsel because it's one of the biggest product fails of all time.
So I actually have a friend of mine that I went to school with, and her father and now her husband collect Edsels. And there's actually an Edsel club that they have.
Is there like a big market for them since it failed?
I don't know. I think it's one of those things where, I mean, anybody can collect anything, failed or popular. I mean, Beanie Babies and whatever. But yeah, the Edsel, I think, like, it was such a bomb that people wanted to collect them. And I don't know, he loves them, and he's got a barn full of them. And now her husband's starting to do it, which she is not happy with, I'm sure. But, but I don't really know much about him, to be honest with you.
Car.
It looks nice. I don't understand why it was such a bomb. Like, does the article say anything directly as far as why it's...
So, quoting the article, Bill Gates cites the Edsel flop as his favorite case study. Coming from Bill Gates, that's pretty credible information. Even the name Edsel is synonymous with marketing failure.
Yeah.
So if you're doing any products in the near future, do not have any association with Edsel because apparently it's tied to product failure.
Yes.
But you could be like the Boston Red Sox and break the curse, or you could be like the Cubbies and break the curse.
Right.
They can be the Chicago Edsels.
But you know what sucks? Like, if I'm not mistaken, Edsel, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't that Ford's son's name? He named it after his kid.
I don't know the specifics on
I need to look that up. Because...
Yeah, you might have to. If you want to take the moment to look that up while I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
So Ford invested $400 million into the car, which it introduced in 1957. But Americans literally weren't buying it because they wanted smaller, more economical vehicles, according to Associated Content. I don't know. I sort of get it, but then I'm just like, there was a lot of big cars back in the 50s.
Right.
And late 50s, early 60s.
Right.
And it's not like they really had any... I mean, there was some wars and stuff going on, and I get that.
Sure.
But it's not like in the 70s when you got into like the gas crisis, and people were really shooting for more economical, fuel economy vehicles at that point. So I mean, the 50s, you still could drive big cars and it was okay, and you still probably paid 10 cents for gas.
Right.
I don't know. Way before my time. So
no kidding. And so yes, Edsel Ford. That is what he named that car after his son. So
does that mean his son was a failure?
That's what I mean. Like, how do you go through that? Like, was he a failure? Did they name the car that way on purpose because he hated Edsel? Or was it just a fact, that he was trying to do something nice, the car failed, and now this kid has to go through the rest of his life? Well, he's not a kid now anymore, I'm sure, but...
Yeah.
But, it was named after a failed car.
Yeah. Poor Edsel.
Poor Edsel.
So anyhow, we'll go ahead and get into the next one. Oh, and it was taken off the market in 1960. So it had a little bit of a run. It had a few years. Not much.
Yeah.
But it's better than most. At least it lasted a few years, opposed to some products only lasted a year or less than a year.
Right.
Which one of them is on the list, and I'm very familiar with it. So the next one is that in 1975, Sony released the Betamax.
Good old Betamax.
Yeah, so like I said, still way before my time. My parents had VHS.
Yep.
They didn't worry about Betamax.
Well, Sony had so many issues trying to come out with like industry standards for media. Like you had Betamax, you had mini disc. Oh, I used to love mini disc though, but
and here's the thing: to Sony's credit, they are good about pushing boundaries, pushing the envelope, and coming out and willing to risk coming up with new stuff.
Right.
Kind of flipping back, and we'll talk about another one, Blu-ray.
Yep.
That was a big concern between Blu-ray and HD DVD.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought Blu-ray wasn't going to do very well. But then it ended up becoming an industry standard, so...
Well, and the way they did it was genius. I mean, your big thing was whenever you got a new format, you want the more people that buy that format, the more it's going to become this industry standard. And at the time, Microsoft was back in the HD DVD, but that wasn't what was in their Xbox 360. So they put the Blu-ray in the PS3, and I mean, lo and behold, now you don't have to buy a whole new piece. You got something that already works. So I mean, why wouldn't it work out? So that was genius. It was, that they were finally able to do that.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, so quoting the article, in the 1970s, the 70s saw a war in home video formats between Betamax and VHS. Sony made a mistake. It started selling Betamax in 1975. While its rivals started releasing VHS machines, Sony kept Betamax proprietary, meaning that the market for VHS products quickly outpaced Betamax. Through Betamax was technically superior, VH won out by simply being ambiguous.
Yeah, and I mean, I had always heard that. Now, when we got our first VCR, well, gosh, I think I was like, 8 years old maybe. It was VHS. Betamax tapes were still out at that time, and I had always wanted that because I had heard that, it was better quality and whatever, but my parents were all about money, and if I'm not mistaken, that the Betamax was more expensive, but that again was because VHS was so much more popular. And it did end up winning out. I mean, it was more like this even said.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, man, I remember growing up with VHS, and it was like, I remember my parents taking me to the rental store.
Yep.
And we would, get a video and get 3 or 4 videos, because there was a rental place that was like literally 5 minutes from where I lived, and we would go there and just get like 5 or 6 videos, and so. Like, we would watch the video, and then I would go to bed or whatever, and then my dad would hook up another VCR that he got off a friend of his that was busted that he repaired, and he would go ahead and make a copy of that VHS so we'd have a copy later. Not necessarily illegal, but back in the day, that's what people did.
Yep.
And it was pretty commonplace.
Oh, yeah.
So, so when I was growing up, we had quite a video collection.
I'll bet. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So yeah, VHS is apparently just one. So
Yay, VHS.
All right, so moving right along. We was briefly talking about something to do with this specific product earlier, and we'll go ahead and attach that video because it will seriously gross you out. So the next product is, in 1985, New Coke. I have mentioned this before on the podcast in a much, much earlier episode that I do not remember which one because there is like 27 episodes and it's hard to keep track of.
You don't have them all memorized. Come on now.
Really, I barely even remember what I did last week or what I ate yesterday. So anyhow, in the early 1980s, Coke was losing ground to Pepsi. The infamous Pepsi Challenge ads were largely responsible for Pepsi's surge. In response, Coca-Cola tried to create a product that would taste more like Pepsi.
Now, an interesting side note on this. Because, the beginning part and everything they're talking about, the Pepsi Challenge, who doesn't remember the Pepsi Challenge? Well, if you're 30 years older maybe. But the thing that supposedly, the reason they wanted to make it taste more like Pepsi, but there's a theory out there that they intentionally tanked on this new Coke, so people would be like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? This is ridiculous, horrible. And then when they brought it back out, then their sales surged because they got the regular, classic formula back. So I don't know if that's true or not, but it was kind of an interesting thought and take on it.
I've heard that theory before.
Yeah.
And I think someone had asked one of the executives from Coke, and the guy point blank said, he goes, I don't think we're dumb enough to come up with something like that. Or he goes, I don't think we're smart enough to come up with that kind of idea. Right. To possibly bankrupt the company, to then in turn bring something back to create a sort of demand. He goes, I don't think we're that smart. And I'm just like, you might be.
It happens.
It happened, but they ended up bouncing back from it, and they're dominating the market still.
Yeah.
So on a side note, and it's a little food for thought, and most people are not aware of this. But Pepsi at the time, the guy that came up with the Pepsi Challenge was John Scully, which ended up being CEO of Apple at the time. Huh. And he was working alongside Steve Jobs, and then Steve Jobs got outed, and John Scully became CEO at the time.
Huh. Well, there you go. Right?
Provided by Flashback Sequence Engaged, the podcast.
And Apple's all about marketing, so that was kind of genius too.
They brought in John Scully to basically revamp marketing and help drive the company. Yeah. It didn't go so well. So New Coke came out. It was a big flop. People were pissed. They took away Coca-Cola Classic. They brought back Coca-Cola Classic, and we still have Coca-Cola Classic. It's no longer called Coke. We still have Diet Coke, but we don't have just Coke. There was a small foray of when they did, in 85, they still kept Coke itself, or New Coke, around. But in the 90s, like early 90s, they were using it under the guise of Coke 2.
Yeah.
So you had Coca-Cola Classic, you had Diet Coke, and you had Coke 2. Coke 2 didn't last very long. So it's carried its way from 85 to, I believe, 90. So that's what happened. So that's why we have Coke, and thank God we still do, because I love Coke.
No kidding.
Or I love Coca-Cola. All right, so the next one, and I don't think I've ever come across this one specifically. It was still, within my time frame of being born. It came out in 89 and 92, so I think I was like 7 or 8, maybe. Yeah. So anyhow, Pepsi has their own little share of debacles. So Pepsi AM and Crystal Pepsi. Now, I'm not gonna talk about Crystal Pepsi because, yes, it was a fail, but then they brought it back.
But it's back, right?
And it's still back.
Yeah.
And we're in 2018. It came out in 2017. So if you bring back a failed product, it can't be that bad.
Right.
So we're not going to go ahead and talk about Crystal Pepsi, but we will talk about Pepsi AM. So in 1989, Pepsi tried to target the breakfast cola drinker.
Which is disturbing. Just that phrase, breakfast cola drinker.
Yeah, I've never felt the need to have Pepsi with my bacon and eggs.
No.
Or anything breakfast related.
Exactly.
So with Pepsi AM, it only lasted a year. Ouch.
Right.
In 1992, Pepsi tried again. No, mind you, they tried again.
Mm-hmm.
They failed, and then they tried again.
Yeah.
So in 1992, Pepsi tried again, this time with a clear cola, Crystal Pepsi, which we're not going to talk about that, but Pepsi AM sucked.
Right.
Only lasted a year.
I want to know, was it just was it just Pepsi with the little sunrise emblem kind of thing? Is that what made it AM, or was there something different about it?
Look it up.
I'm going to check that because,
And here's the nice thing. While he's looking that up, there might be a small pause, but with the power of editing, there won't be.
You will never know it.
You will never know. Because we're not here to provide fake news. We're here to provide legit, up to the minute, relevant information.
Well, so I got excited because I found a link to the New York Times for an article on September 30th, 1989. I was like, oh my gosh, we get to go back in the way back machine.
Oh, shit.
But it's a broken link.
Oh.
I'm like so upset now. So here, Pepsi AM was a cola drink with 28% more caffeine. So
no,
it was Pepsi. They just added more caffeine.
Okay. How much caffeine was in it? Does it say?
No, it just says 25 or 28% more.
Okay.
So I can tell you an average bottle, well, those were 16 ounces back in the day. So an average bottle, 20 ounce now has, 57?
Coke has 39.
Yeah, and the can, the 12 ounce can. So yeah, it'd be about 57, roughly 55 to 60.
Okay.
So for a 20 ounce can.
Okay, so let me put it in a little perspective for you. Coffee's just a little higher than that.
Right.
Okay. There's even something worse than that. I don't know how much you're familiar with it, but Jolt Cola.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good old Jolt.
You sitting for this one? You ready?
I'm ready.
You're ready to get skull fucked on some information.
You have them all on the edge of their seats, sir.
Jolt Cola comes with 160 milligrams of caffeine
in a can.
In a 16-ounce can.
Yes.
160.
Yeah.
That will put your heart in some nasty stuff.
It's disturbing, yeah.
Yes. Your heart will literally be beating out of your chest. That's how powerful this stuff is.
And not in a good way.
But we need to be sponsored by Jolt Cola because I would like promote the hell out of Jolt Cola.
Right? I mean, how long are these podcasts on average? Like about an hour or so? Give us some Jolt Cola.
I would offer up 15. I would offer up at least 30 second ad time.
Sure.
Front to back.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the middle. I'll even sponsor some. I'll even do some Jolt Cola sponsorship.
Absolutely.
Jolt Cola, if you're listening, I will tag you in this shit, and you need to help us out.
Sweet.
Because we will help you out.
And we'll be able to do a 5-hour podcast without even blinking.
Let me go ahead and take you back a little bit. Jolt Cola was the go-to drink for hackers, the go-to drink for gamers, the go-to drink for partiers and night owls. That's what Jolt Cola was. It was amazing.
Good stuff.
I remember my first can of Jolt Cola. I was literally bouncing off the walls.
I could imagine.
I thought I was going to die.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. Not the crash.
No.
No, when you drink Jolt Cola, it's like drinking, like having a heavy night of drinking. They say you're supposed to drink through a hangover.
Right.
Same thing with Jolt Cola.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, you drink Jolt Cola, you come onto the crash, and then you start sipping like Pepsi or Coke or something like that.
Right.
Just to kind of,
level it out.
Yeah,
instead
level
of
it out,
crash.
calm you down.
Yes. Open the parachute, so to speak.
So yeah. Yeah, we provided you some amazing information right there.
Right?
All right.
You are welcome.
Yeah, you are welcome. See, and you were worried about being explicit.
Oh, shit, I'm not anymore. I'm good.
Oh man, this episode is just going off the rails. All right, so the next one. In 1989, R.J. Reynolds provided us, or that specific time period, smokeless cigarettes.
Horrible.
Terrible idea.
Absolutely. Because anybody who's a smoker or anybody who's been around smokers knows there's not a thing, there's no such thing as a smokeless cigarette. No. There was a small resurgence of these at the turn of the millennium, around the early 2000s. They came back out. I want to say they were called Eclipse. I can't remember. But I tried them. And it's weird. So for anybody who's not a smoker, or, you know, who was a smoker, I guess, when you light it, just the tip gets hot, and it's a metal tube. So that's why it doesn't burn down. Mm-hmm. So it's a metal tube, and it's heating the tobacco instead of actually burning the tobacco. Well, the thing is, you're still breathing in smoke. It's got to go somewhere.
It's just apparently cleaner.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't just stay in your lungs. I mean,
but the thing is, it's still smoke.
Yeah, that's what exactly. So, and then like you don't get that satisfying ending, like, oh, it's done. No, it just kind of peters out, and then your mouth tastes metallic because you just been sucking on a metal hot tube.
Sounds amazing,
right? Who wouldn't buy this?
I bet people were lining up.
I'm sure. Like, they're like, Eclipse cigarettes. I need these right now.
They're like, good God, why are we just now getting this? Why? I need my fix.
Thank God this podcast was here. I had no idea. So yeah, as your article says, they didn't work.
No.
Well, no.
No, it was a fail.
Yeah.
It was a fail. Because that's what we're talking about. It's fails.
Right.
All right, so moving on to the next one. I don't know what to think about this one.
It's interesting.
Okay, in 1990, Coors Rocky Mountain Spring Water. Coors, the banquet beer.
Yeah.
Decided to steer away from beer and bring out spring water.
And some people would say that they've been brewing spring water for years because they don't like Coors Light. I, however, don't mind a Coors Light every once in a while.
You couldn't pay me.
No?
No.
Well, I'm not exactly a beer connoisseur. You can give me anything.
No, here's the thing. I'm not a beer connoisseur either.
Yeah.
I just don't like Coors Light.
Fair enough.
And this is coming from a person that when I was allegedly in high school...
Yeah?
We would drink 30 Keystones.
Oh, sure.
So we would get a 30-pack of Stones.
Right.
But yeah, we would never get Coors Light. It was terrible. I would drink Keystone before I would drink Coors.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, they brought out water. Yeah. It's no alcohol whatsoever.
Right.
Just water.
Just bottled water.
But apparently it came from...
the Rocky Mountains.
The Rocky Mountains. So yeah, it was I think it was one of those... I think what happened was they were just like, oh man, we didn't get that shipment of hops that came in, so...
What are we going to
do? Here's what we'll do. Bill, all right, you go down to the brewery. All right, you go ahead and tell them, just go ahead and bottle the shit.
But there's nothing in it.
And you go tell Jenny in marketing, all right? Jenny, we're going to convince these people that they need this. Because we can't make beer right now.
Right.
We're going to make fucking water. We are going to sell water to people and put the Coors name on it. It's like Fuji water. It's like Fiji water before Fiji water became a thing.
Exactly. Now, this is 1990, and this is when all of a sudden this bottled water craze went everywhere. So, they were probably thinking, hey, we can make a dime off of that. Why not? But at the same time, who's going to buy beer water? It's just weird.
Yeah, I don't. When I think of the name Coors, I don't think water.
Yeah, you don't think health.
I think watered down beer.
Right. but not just water.
Not just straight water.
Now, to be fair, Anheuser-Busch does that, but they do that in times of crisis, hurricanes, whatever.
No, that's fine. I get that.
Right, and that's awesome.
But they're not they're not selling...
Right.
They're not slapping Bud Light on it and just calling it...
And trying to sell it as a...
Sell water.
Yes. That's interesting.
Yes.
And we're not the only ones that felt that way, apparently, because it did not last long at all.
So, I don't know if you're aware of this. You ever seen the movie Smokey and the Bandit?
Boy, a long time ago.
Okay.
But I enjoyed it, yes.
All right, so, in the movie, Bandit and then Snowman get paid by the Enos brothers, I believe. I think Enos.
Sure.
Anyhow, they're supposed to bring back a truckload of Coors back to, I think, Georgia.
I think you're right.
And apparently at that time, and I think this was actually legit.
It was.
It was like legit reason, and actually, was legit information for the story, that you could not bring Coors that far east because it was considered bootlegging.
Correct.
I can't imagine myself wanting to risk jail and possibly getting in car accidents or getting killed to bring Coors farther east.
Right.
Still an awesome movie. But I'm not gonna sacrifice life and limb for Coors.
Right. Speaking of that movie, I still want that car. Car was awesome.
Oh, what is it?
Trans Am.
Oh, yeah, Trans Am. What year was that? 70?
Oh, hell, I couldn't tell you.
It was like 70-something.
Yeah.
Might have
But
been
boy,
like
was it beautiful.
77?
It sounds about right.
Yeah. Look it up.
All right. But
All
yes, that was... Oh, it's a beautiful car.
So, yeah, we're all about providing extra information with Flashback Sequence Engaged, the podcast. So, yeah, that's your little Coors information. So, yeah, they made water, and it failed.
1977. Right on the mark.
Yeah, I was right on the money.
So, yeah. Bottled water from beer. Not a good idea.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're on to the next one. In 1993, our good friends at Apple, way before the iPod and way before the iPhone and many other products, there was a device called the Apple Newton.
The good old Newton.
So quoting the article, the Newton held up as an example of Apple's bad old days before it was the world's most valuable company. I mean, you have to start from the bottom. You start from the bottom, and now you're here.
Now we're here.
So Forbes, quoting the article, Forbes says the Newton PDA flopped for a number of reasons. It price started out at $700.
Which...
In 1993.
Holy good gravy, yes.
It was 8 inches. 8 inches tall and 4.5 inches wide. I mean, you kind of expect it for that time period.
Right.
And its handwriting recognition was so bad that a classic Simpsons episode made fun of it. Simpsons did it first.
Of course, they do everything.
Yeah. They really picked up on a lot of stuff over the years. So, of course, eventually Apple turned the mobile tablet market on its head. With the introduction of the iPad, they're not calling the PDA device anymore because of the iPad.
Right. Now, see, the Newton, I just think it was ahead of its time. I mean, we didn't have Wi-Fi, very prevalent back then. I mean, mobile phones were just starting to come out. So, I mean, I think it was a great concept. I think it was a great idea. But you couldn't do anything with it. And especially for $700 back in 1993, I mean, you had to put some money into that.
That's a tough pill to swallow right there.
Right.
$700.
Right.
I mean, what was...
hell, it is now.
Just think of just think. $700 in 1993. Think of the inflation.
Right.
Probably be like $2,000 now.
I was going to say, if it's anything like gas prices.
Yeah. So it'd be like ridiculously crazy right now. All right. So yeah, that happened. All right. So moving on to the next one. I'm not really familiar with this one at all. 1995. Microsoft Bob.
Microsoft Bob.
Do you know any more about this than I do?
I probably know maybe an iota more than you do, but I used it one time.
Go ahead and roll with this, because I don't know anything about it.
So it was a user-friendly interface for Windows, according to the article, and it was killed a year later. So Windows was created or stolen, depending on which side you're on. So that way it was making a computer easier to use. Well, some people still found Windows a little intimidating, so they came up with a kind of cartoony background. You got a dog on the screen because dogs make everything better. Bob, like the middle, the O was actually a smiley face, but he had glasses because, it was the 90s. Nerds were ruling everything, and the nerds always wear glasses. That's just how it goes. So
kind of looks like Bill Gates.
it kind of does,
It's like the
little subliminal.
It's like the emoji of Bill Gates.
Yeah. So, but anyway, it was supposed to be making, computers easier for people who found Windows intimidating, for, children or, people who didn't use computers that often. So, again, one of those things just like the Newton. Interesting concept. It just was ridiculous. It demanded more performance than the typical user, the typical hardware at the time is what this is saying, and which is so funny because, there wasn't exactly a lot of computing power back in 95.
No.
And Windows and everything was already a resource whore as it is, and then you throw a graphic interface on top of a graphic interface. Whew. Yeah.
Yeah. It was good. It was good on paper, I guess.
Right. And like I said, the idea was neat, especially for 95. That was when PCs really started coming down to where Joe Schmo could buy one without taking a loan out, and they wanted to appeal to a wide audience, so it made sense. But execution was just poor. Yeah.
All right. So the next one, I know personally about this one.
Good.
1995, Nintendo's Virtual Boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Now, I've never actually played one.
I have.
I have seen them.
I've owned one.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. It broke at one point. But yeah, I've owned a few of them actually. One I don't know how somehow it got lost, and the other one I bought at a yard sale for $3. And it worked for a little while, and then there were some issues with it. But anyhow, so Nintendo, or quoting the article, Nintendo's Virtual Boy was an ambitious push into a burgeoning technology, a new technology, virtual reality. Simply buy the Virtual Boy and get swept away into digital environments of VR. Except the Virtual Boy was totally unlike what it promised. Games were little more than black and red nightmares, with low resolution graphics and gameplay that would have been better suited to a standard game console. Virtual Boy ended up selling under 1 million units. Oof, that's
Which
bad.
is harsh.
Yeah. It's the biggest hardware flop in Nintendo's history. Wow. That's pretty bad.
It really is. And I had heard that because of the low-res graphics, a lot of times it would cause eye strain, headaches, and even sometimes seizures before that was kind of a known thing for, video games to cause. So... Okay. But yeah, so I wish I would have played one, actually. I've seen one, like I said, a couple times, but I've never actually played one. And the controller's kind of neat, because back in the 90s still, with games, a lot of the handheld controllers were still kind of flat paddles, looking like this one was one of the first ones that had handles on it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a neat idea.
And then another thing along with the Virtual Boy is, I'm trying to remember back in my memory here. I'm pretty sure the guy that really pushed for the release of Virtual Boy was the same person that created the Game Boy.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure. I'm almost 99% sure.
Yeah.
On that fact. But yeah, It was honestly one of Nintendo's biggest flops because I mean when the Game Boy came out, that was awesome.
Oh yeah.
I mean Nintendo was just bringing out hits,
Right.
and then they have something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Virtual Boy, did it run off AC or was it battery?
It ran off AC.
Okay. Well, DC technically, I guess, but still, yeah.
Right. But it had this weird stand.
Mm.
There was no head. There was like no head mounting for it.
Right. You kind of had to hunch
heavy.
over.
Yeah. Or you had to like lay down.
Right.
And just like let it sit on your face. It was super super awkward. So yeah. Yeah, that was a Virtual Boy. It didn't come up with a lot of games. I think it was maybe 10.
I was gonna say I thought 10 or 12 was the most I heard.
It wasn't a lot. So yeah, if you want to pick up the Virtual Boy, you can get them pretty cheap, and you can get some of the games, but then there are a few games that are like really hard to get.
And just make sure you pick up a bottle of Advil when you do.
Yeah. Or just don't even do it. So then this next one, I don't really understand the failure part of it. In 1996, McDonald's Arch Deluxe was a failed product. In 1996, McDonald's introduced the Arch Deluxe, which never caught on. It was intended to appeal to urban sophisticates.
Yes.
That's interesting. Outside of its target demographic, to reach this group, McDonald's spent $100 million, which it makes it one of the most expensive product flops in history. Turns out McDonald's was just around 10 years too early. Today, burger chains like Five Guys, Shake Shack are widely popular upstarts, hawking slightly more expensive fast food burgers to the modern equivalent of urban sophisticates.
So yeah, like I actually had the Arch Deluxe. It was a good burger, but again, they were appealing to, I mean, you think McDonald's, you think, Happy Meals or, something you're getting on the way, you're not going to McDonald's because it tastes good per se. Mm-hmm. You're going because it's fast, easy, and whatever. And so, also, if I'm not mistaken, like this burger back in '96 was about $4 or $5, which, I mean, you could get an entire meal at McDonald's for that price. So to charge that much for just a burger, a lot of people were like, are you crazy? Why would I do that? But, now with the way things are, yeah, Five Guys is like $7.60 for a burger by itself. I'm like, are you crazy? So see, there you go. It
literally looks like the same burger I can grill on my own grill.
Yeah. So maybe that's kind of the same thing that was happening back then. So there you go.
All right. The next one, 1997, Orbs Soda. I am familiar with this. It came out during the release of Independence Day, the movie. Big Will Smith box office buster.
Oh, yeah.
So that came out. So, Orbs, it's basically, like, really crappy soda with, like, floating dots.
Yeah, and I don't know how that could possibly be, like, how do you even describe it? I mean, other than what you're just saying with dots.
It looks like a lava lamp.
It does look like a lava lamp, but I mean, to have these dots suspended in it, like it's not like you shake it up and they run around. No, I mean they were suspended when you bought this bottle. So I mean, it had to have a thick consistency. So you can't possibly want to drink this because you're thirsty. Like it was not meant to quench a thirst. No. I wouldn't think. And the consistency of drinking something and all of a sudden feeling like these little going down your throat, that would just be bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, quoting the article, although the soda, which looks like a lava lamp, appealed to young kids, it was not tasty. People compared it to cough syrup. Disappeared off shelves within a year of its 1997 debut. However, you can still pick up Orbits is still sold on eBay. If you're into drinking decade old soda, Orbits is for you.
No, I'm good.
Nope, I'm good.
Right.
I will go ahead and attach a video for you. You can watch this one guy, and he actually drinks this stuff, and it's pretty terrible. He didn't like it too much, and he drinks, among other things, he actually drank a 41-year-old beer.
No.
Yeah, it was called Billy Beer.
Okay.
And it was a beer from the brother of Jimmy Carter.
Oh.
It was 41 years old, and he chugged that thing like it was nothing.
No.
That guy was a champ.
No kidding.
All right, so the next one. 1998 Frito-Lay Wow Chips. I vaguely remember these.
So I do remember these. Wow was what they were called because they used a different type of like a fat that they fried it in instead of just regular oil. It was called Olestra. And Scott Johnson, if you're listening, and you better be, this one's for you. The best part about this was on the back of the label, it would talk about what Olestra was and would say with an asterisk, may cause anal leakage. Google it. It exists. And that was exactly what it was. Olestra was thought to be like this great new thing because it was just like fat, but the molecules were too large to be digested by the body, as the article describes. So it would just go straight through you. Sounds like genius, right? Like, hey, it's not making me fat. Well, when it goes straight through you.
Gotta go somewhere.
Yep. So it all goes out the out tube, and not a fun way either. So, yeah, it didn't last very long because, people don't like to eat things that make them do that.
Yeah, I don't want to eat chips and then end up in the toilet.
Right. I mean, the only Taco Bell, that's the only acceptable chips that you can eat.
Okay, so I'm gonna paint kind of an awful picture.
I want a word picture.
You want a weird picture? Okay. I remember experiencing firsthand of the power of Olestra. And it was the equivalent of, imagine your poop was oily.
No, I don't want to do that.
No, I don't want to either.
Right?
So yeah, I had really bad. I remember one time I ended up picking up a bag of chips. And I think it was like maybe 15 or 16 when these came out.
Yeah.
And I remember picking up a bag of chips, and I'm just like, these are actually pretty good. And then like later, I just like, it felt like I literally chugged a whole thing of vegetable oil and had to poop.
Nope.
I'm good.
No.
Let's move on from this diarrhea. Quite literally. All right, so in 1999, Cosmopolitan yogurt. Never heard of it.
No, but apparently the magazine people, Cosmopolitan, came up with their own yogurt. Why not? You're reading a magazine about, 41 best ways to deal with your period. Why not eat some yogurt while you're doing it, right?
Or in this case, they show a picture of an issue of Cosmopolitan. Weird male behavior.
Decoded.
Decoded.
Yes.
And then you can have some of your Cosmopolitan yogurt.
Right. I want to know why all these guys are telling these female magazines all of our secrets. Stop doing it. We need some kind of secrets left over. Stop telling our weird male behaviors.
The bro code.
Right. Freaking jackasses.
We have a leak. We have a leak in the bro code.
WikiLeak, bro code.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
We gotta stop the leak.
But anyway.
We're gonna revoke some bro cards here.
Yeah.
Quit leaking info. You're telling them too much. All right, so on to the next one. And I actually own one of these.
Yeah, this one makes me sad.
Yeah. 2006, the Microsoft Zune. I thought it was good.
Right.
It was way before its time. The software sucked.
It did indeed.
But the actual device was cool.
Right.
So, yeah, to quote the article, the Zune was built to take on the iPod. Not a good idea.
Nope.
Robbie Bach, the former leader of Microsoft's home entertainment and mobile business, gave his explanation as to why. Quoting him, we just weren't brave enough, honestly, and we ended up chasing Apple with a product that actually wasn't a bad product, but it was still a chasing product. There wasn't a reason for somebody to say, "Oh, I have to go out and get that thing."
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't innovative. I mean, it was just a Microsoft clone of an Apple product. I mean, they both did the same things.
And it was really thick.
It was thick. It did have a larger screen, though, to be fair, which was kind of nice. But I mean, the interface was pretty similar. I mean, they both did the same things. So yeah, I mean, if you've got Apple with this product that already has software. They started getting, the Apple Store to download music and everything else. Why buy something that's different?
You know what the funny thing is, when the iPod came out, I was very anti-Apple at that time.
Really?
And so I specifically purchased the Zoom because I didn't want to be conforming to Apple. And then I ended up later on down the road, I ended up conforming and ended up getting a butt ton of Apple products.
Right.
So yeah, I ended up coming around to the dark side.
No, buddy of mine does the same thing, but he still has Zune parts. Like, he refuses to let go of his Zune. He doesn't really listen to music portable up.
They don't even have this. This is software. The software is not even supported anymore.
Oh, heavens no! But he's still got all the parts in case one goes bad. He can swap it back in there. He's hanging on for dear life.
I will admit they were built like tanks.
Right.
Like I had dropped the the Zune that I had a few times. It was built very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was a flop, unfortunately. It just came out the wrong time.
Yep.
So I know this one vaguely, and I think it was a neat concept, but then it was just way too ahead of its time. So 2006, mobile ESPN. So mobile ESPN, introduced in January 2006, was one of the biggest flameouts of mobile virtual network operators. So it was basically a small carrier that leased service off of big carriers. So it's called MVNOs. They're still around. There's a lot of MVNOs. They're kind of the same thing. They don't last very long.
Right.
Just because you can't really compete. So in the past decade, which also included Amped, Mobile, Helio, Disney Mobile, and others, they all are essentially like ESPN, mobile ESPN. So the idea was ESPN would exclusively sell a phone that offered exclusive ESPN content and video, leasing network access from Verizon, but ESPN only had one phone at launch, a Sanyo device, which it was the same Sanyo device that I had, I think, in 96. I had one of those at that point. Selling for $400. Not a very good price point.
No.
Can you imagine buying the phone above for 400 big ones? Neither can we.
And we're talking about a Sanyo flip phone. It was nothing extravagant. I mean,
no, I remember working at Sprint. We were practically giving those away.
Right. Yep.
I mean, we had a pink one, a blue one. They had like the monochromatic screen on the front, lit up orange. Yeah, we were practically giving those away, and then they charged $400 for this piece of crap.
Right. What was that? Like the old 8200? I still remember those. I used to work at Sprint too.
All right, so the next one. In 2006, we mentioned something about this earlier, HD DVD. So there was a big battle at one point between HD DVD and Blu-ray. Blu-ray ended up becoming the victor in this battle, and it's still conquering. It's still, kind of going on, but unfortunately, digital media is kind of slowly chiseling away at Blu-ray itself.
Yep.
But back when this was coming out in 2006, basically it was either HD DVD or Blu-ray, but everyone ended up adopting Blu-ray more. The only few products that I remember, there was like a handful of DVD players, and the Xbox 360 had that external attachment for HD DVD drive. I never ended up picking one up.
Nope.
Because I couldn't justify the price point.
Right.
But then once they put Blu-ray in the PS3, then all bets were off.
Game over.
Yeah. Anything you would like to add to this?
No, other than the fact that still sometimes when I'm shopping around like mom and pop used game shops, you can still find those Xbox 360 attachments with the HD movies.
What's the price going for them?
I honestly can't remember. I wanted to say somewhere right between like $50 and $70.
That's not too bad.
It's not horrible, but, for a dead system when you can buy, the Blu-ray, which is going to look just the same, supposedly.
Right. All right, so I'm not familiar with this one at all. It's called Juiced. It came out in 2007. The idea was to have peer-to-peer TV. It sounds like it's just riding on the coattails of Napster, when the idea of Napster, to do peer-to-peer sharing, but... yeah, it didn't go very well. So they ended up, scrapping the idea and ended up flaming out. And then NBC partnered with Hulu, and then, you got Netflix and all that stuff. And this is nothing.
Well, that's what's funny. In the article, it even says, and who's ever heard of Juiced nowadays? Well, I didn't even hear about it then-a-days.
No.
I mean, that was never anything that was on my radar.
And it went from 2007 to 2009, and I never heard about it between that time
until
period.
This, yep.
So the next one, 2008, Google Lively. It looks stupid.
Sure does. That's they thought they could compete with Second Life, if anybody remembers that out there. And, yeah, it was a game of the virtual world for social interactions. Well, there's 1,000 of those out there. So,
yeah. Just didn't take off, and it looked very cartoony and kind of lame. So,
yeah, if anybody remembers Day of the Tentacle, it kind of has that kind of same look to it. And look it up, that might help you out too. But I used to love that stupid game. Sorry. Go ahead.
All right, in 2009, I'm going to say it's Juju.
Yeah, Joojo, I guess Juju.
So in the era of a $4.99 iPad, an inferior tablet computer that also costs $4.99 doesn't work. You may remember this device. No, don't.
Nope.
It came out in 2009 and was gone by 2010.
Yeah,
Wow.
They said it was called the Crunch Pad. That sounds familiar, but I don't really remember either one of them. So yeah, hey, we're going to come out with an inferior product and we want you to pay for the same price.
Yep.
Great marketing.
So the next one, I actually didn't mind this one. I'm kind of sad that it failed.
My fiance loved hers.
2009, the Nook, launched in 2009. Barnes and Noble has now spun off the Nook into its own company, orphaning the underachieving e-reader. Sales have been plunging for a while, so it's actually still going on.
Right.
But they're still considering a failed product. I don't really know if that's a failed product if you're still selling it.
That's the thing, yeah.
So anyhow, somebody ended up buying this, so-called Bellis Capital Advisors. They explained the demise of it. Shoppers couldn't get beyond Barnes & Noble being a destination for something they no longer want or generally care about, books. Barnes & Noble management perpetuated that by not investing aggressively enough in marketing to alter the perception. Take a page from Amazon.
Right.
They went from books to selling everything else.
Exactly. And in any capitalist thing, to make money, you got to spend money. So he might have been on the right page as far as, investing money into marketing, but at the same time, e-readers came out just before tablets really started taking off. So if you can buy something that you can read a book on, or you can buy something that you can read a book on, get on Facebook, play games, everything else, e-readers kind of went to the wayside pretty quickly, in my opinion.
So the next one, Quickster. In 2011, Reed Hastings announced that Netflix would spin off Quickster as a DVD rental business. This move met tons of criticism, and Hastings backtracked on his statement 23 days later.
23 days.
Wow.
That's crazy fast.
Wow. I remember back in the day when Netflix was just 100% renting DVDs. I mean, I had one of the max packages for a long, long time. It was like $30-$40.
Wow.
And it was, I think, 6 at a time. It was like 5 or 6 at a time.
Gosh.
So I was like literally churning and burning them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was like living on my own, so that's what I constantly would do, is just watch movies because I couldn't afford cable. So yeah.
And then after that, it says that Netflix announced a video game add-on that would ship game discs to your house. But at that point, I think GameFly was out and doing.
It was pretty dominant.
Yeah,
it's still very dominant.
It's amazing, yeah. Especially if you're really into gaming, wanting to check out everything that's out late, new stuff, all that.
Yeah, with renting video games, it's either GameFly or nothing.
Right.
There's still some small ones, but yeah, literally you don't hear anything other than GameFly.
Right.
And I had it for quite a few years, GameFly. I had recently got rid of it just because I didn't find myself utilizing it as much as I should have. So I ended up scrapping it and going with something else. It was more interesting to me at the time. But don't get me wrong, GameFly was really good. And they always had these specials going on to where you get GameFly dollars. So you would get GameFly dollars every so often. And there was this small window where it was very, very small. It was like a few days to where the $5 of one was getting ready to expire, and you were getting another $5. So you would actually have $10 off a game at a very, very small window of opportunity to do it. And then I did take advantage of that quite a few times, of where I would get $10 off a used game. So $20 game, I get it for $10.
Heck yeah.
It's crazy.
Right.
But yeah, I remember, GameFly was awesome. So next one, make sure I'm on the right one. Yeah, so 2011 HP touchpad, looks like crap.
Sure does. WebOS. Blech.
We'll just leave it at that. It was so bad that it's not even worth talking about. 2013 Facebook Home. Yeah.
I don't even remember Facebook Home. I know you said that you remembered it. I don't even remember that being a thing.
Yeah, it was basically where Facebook was charging for Facebook.
Okay.
So, to just kind of give you a small hint of this, in less than a month of being released, the 2-year subscription plan dropped from $99 to 99 cents.
That's disturbing.
I mean, it was widely adopted. It was literally catching so much fire, people were just like banging down the doors to get this shit. So yeah, charging for Facebook. Good luck with that.
Right.
But now, hey, look at it this way. Facebook came around and they realized this was a bad idea, and so then they just say, "Screw it, we're just gonna go ahead and get everyone's information out there."
Right.
Because it's good business.
Sure. Why not just let everybody's information fall into the hands of everyone it shouldn't?
Makes for great advertisements, I guess. So the largest company in the world, Amazon, the current largest company in the world, Amazon, actually took an L on this one. Amazon's Fire Phone. I briefly heard about that.
Right.
And they were selling it at AT&T. It was an AT&T exclusive. It went from, how much were they selling it for? It doesn't say how much they were selling it for, but I know it was expensive.
I'll bet.
And I remember at one point, when it had been out for a little while, it was literally they were paying people to take it.
That's crazy.
Like, literally, you would buy one for, like, next to nothing, and you would get another one for 99 cents.
Wow.
That's bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to talk about it. It just really sucked.
Well, yeah, and for a phone to only have a life of 13 months is what this is saying, and Amazon didn't do anything with phones anymore. Yeah, it's pretty harsh if the largest company in the world right now is not even wanting to get back into cell phones, which you can't really lose in cell phones, it seems like.
No, it really,
yeah,
I mean, you can, but...
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. You would think you saw the writing on the wall much, much earlier than 13 months.
No kidding.
It's just basically like, let's just go and wait it out the year. It'll get better. But they only was just like, well, we've already waited a year. Let's go ahead and wait one more month.
Yeah.
It'll get better in one
more month.
So it ended up completely crashing and burning in 13 months.
And speaking of burning.
Nice segue. Speaking of burning, in 2016, the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. Now, I can speak to this one, and it was a burr in my ass.
Yeah.
For a long period of time. I had worked for a mobile carrier, which I'm not going to bring them up.
Okay.
And I had first-hand experience of the recall of the Note 7. And it wasn't the greatest experience. So yeah, people were bringing in Note 7s left and right. When the recall hit, and basically people were told that they had to bring in Note 7s, people were just constantly coming in and bringing in their Note 7. And let me tell you from experience, as far as how they were figuring out how to bring these phones back from being out in the open market, was a nightmare.
No, I'm sure.
It was like the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. And so you're trying to refund these people damn near almost $1,000.
Right.
Because I think they were like 700, 800, they were in the 700, 800 range. They were very expensive. And so trying to get people into these phones is literally like they were telling it, we were using kind of a Band-Aid system to try to get these people out of these phones. And it got to a point where people that were not turning in these phones, Samsung would push out updates to these phones and basically making them obsolete.
Just to get them
to get people convinced to bring those in.
Wow.
It was bad. And it went on for a very, very long time. I remember even when the recalls were coming out, they had when they released the phone, they had the recall shortly after. So basically, Samsung went back through. They check all the stock.
Right.
Quotes.
Quote.
Check all the stock. And they're like, oh, all this stock is okay. We're good. So they released this next batch of phones out into the market again. These were bad too.
Of course.
So we have more phones that we're bringing back from the open market. It was a mess.
Yeah.
It was truly, truly a mess.
What blows my mind is how people actually wanted to hang on to them so badly, and yet airlines are telling you if you have a Note 7, you're not bringing it on the plane.
No.
That would be enough for me not to want that phone anymore.
No, it truly wasn't. But yeah, I mean, it was really bad to the point. I mean, I had people at that, when they were carrying the Note 7, they said, I love this phone and I do not want to give it up. The Note 7 was an amazing phone, minus the battery.
Right.
It was everything that was great about previous Samsungs, but then the battery just basically killed it. And I don't understand Samsung's reasoning that they still stuck with the Note line. They didn't kill off the name.
Right. And I'll be honest, I own a Note 8. I was terrified of buying it, but I had a Note 6, so I missed the 7, thank God. I loved my Note 6, and then when I heard about the battery with the Note 7, I'm like, well, they're going to redesign the whole thing. They're clearly going to get rid of that battery. I was really hoping and praying they would. I haven't had any issues yet, so we'll see what happens if I go to board a plane with my Note 8.
Nah, you should be good. But yeah, it was just a complete mess, and there was a long period of time that I would just go home exhausted from having to bring these Note 7s back into sending them back to Samsung.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So yeah, that was the last awful, terrible product we have in this list of 25. Man, that feels like a chore.
It was pretty rough on some of those, yeah. But some of them were kind of neat to talk about again.
There were some really good ones. But yeah, we ended on a really awful one. It would literally blow up in your hand. So anyhow, that's all I have on the main topic. But let's go ahead and take care of some house cleaning items.
Cool.
So you can follow us on our social media at on Facebook at Flashback Sequence Engaged, the podcast. You can check us out on Twitter at FSE Podcast. You can check us out on our Instagram page at FSE Podcast. You can send us hate mail or any kind of mail at fsepodcast@gmail.com. Please check out our Patreon page at Flashback Sequence Engaged. Send us some money if you like.
Yeah, we like money.
We like money. Money makes this podcast that much better. Because it is a labor of love and it does cost money. Distribution, marketing, website, the list goes on and on and on. And it costs, because I have to pay these people
right
to distribute my content. So if you can help us out on Patreon, we have a few different tiers. We have the $5 footlong one. You can just shoot us some $5. It's got a picture of Guy doing the footlong, minus Jared, because he did awful things. But yeah, so you have the $5 tier. We have a tier where you can just donate anything, and then we have the super mega awesome ultra swag tier, which is $35. And here's where the value really kicks in. You not only get access to our Discord chat, so when we do an episode, we'll hook up our Discord. We don't have enough people yet to actually justify it, but once we start to pick up more patrons, then we'll really get into it. So we'll open it up to where we'll actually have people speaking to us live, and they can give input at that point. So then here's the other part of the value. We'll send you cool shit.
Everybody likes cool shit.
Everyone likes cool shit.
Not oily Lester shit.
Not
cool
oily
shit.
Lester shit, but cool shit. I think one of the items is going to be a T-shirt. I'm debating on the design. I'm debating on which specific T-shirt that I'm going to do. It might be game related. It might be pop culture related. I haven't decided yet, but it's going to be super, super cool. So that would probably be the first one. And we actually have someone that is in this tier. So they will be getting some awesome swag soon. I just have to wait for the actual item to come in, so then I can ship it out. So check out our Patreon page. If you can donate, great. If you can't, hey, you're at least listening to the show, and that helps.
Right.
So that's really all that I have at the moment.
Cool.
Do you have anything, Jason?
No, thanks for having me on, man. This was a lot of fun. I've always wanted to do something like this, and hopefully I can come back later on.
Yeah, you're always welcome.
I appreciate it.
We have an open door policy here, except for just don't walk in my house. But
fine.
But we have a pretty lax open door policy. So yeah, that's all that I have. So we're gonna get out of here. It's getting late. So have a good one.
Have a good night.
Everything changes.